Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social. What's behind the billion-dollar business of fighting inflammation and living a better life? We'll be right back and look inside the mind of a nutritional doctor and health expert. Don't go away. Welcome back. I'm Barry Farber, and this is Mind Your Business, and we're going to talk about the business of dealing with inflammation and the products and services that are offered, and maybe to get some truth out there of what is good, what isn't, how to do research. But over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, "Let food be thy medicine." You know, can food heal us better? What is it that makes us feel good? What is it that later in life helps us live a better and healthier life? Well, we're going to take a look at that, but before we even introduce my guest, I want to share with you something that I remember from Bruce Lee. It was one of his greatest comments, because Bruce Lee didn't just study one martial art. He studied multiple martial arts, from boxing and fencing and taekwondo, jeet kune do. That's what he created, but he didn't believe in one way. He believed that it's a multitude of the research that you put together, and he came up with this idea of collecting information, discarding what isn't useful, and then creating a better way of life. And I believe that's my goal in life. I hope that we can find out ways so you can learn that too from our guest. But we need to collect information. CDC, collect information from what's out there, from credible sources of what is important, not just in health and anything. And then we discard what's not useful for us, because everybody's different. We're all different makeups, and whether based upon our body, our height, our DNA and all that. So, not everybody's exactly the same. So we collect information, we discard what's not useful, and then create our own method, our own style. So when we come back, I want you to hear and listen to somebody who is in the natural health field, yes, but I want to understand, why is not eating meat healthier? Think about that. The meat industry, the dairy industry, huge businesses. And I'll share some information too that I just want to make sure we have an understanding of what our choices are. What are the reasons? What's the history of study and the longest studies on human health that can talk about this in a way that we can be more informed in a better way. We'll be right back. This is Mind Your Business. See you in a moment.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Welcome back. Dr. Brian Clement has spearheaded the international progressive health movement for more than 3.5 decades. He's the director of the renowned Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida, where he facilitates the implementation of innovative natural health treatments and programs, and is the author of over 20 books focused on health, spirituality, and natural healing. Among them, Life Force, which Dr. Colin Campbell calls one of the most important books ever written on nutrition. Welcome to the show.
Nice to be with you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. Now, my son and I attended one of your talks, and I never got fired up in my life because you answered so many questions. I want the audience to listen, and I want you to tell them a little bit about the history of the institute where you're director of, and the research that's involved, so they can understand the comprehensive amount of knowledge that you've collected over the years.
Well, back in 1952, up in Boston, Massachusetts, our founder was told she had 90 days to live. She had advanced colon cancer. And these were the Harvard doctors. And so it was a pretty reputable group that discusses. She went home and started to employ the methodologies she learned from her grandmom, the village doctor back in Europe, and reversed advanced cancer.
How did she do that?
Through diet, through attitude, through lifestyle.
Okay, so diet, attitude, lifestyle.
Exactly.
I want to get into those three this program. But
We're going to
talk-
speak.
yeah,
We're going to speak about it.
But I do want the viewers to understand the time that you've spent and the research combined with the China study and all other things that you've collected.
Oh, yeah. There's overwhelming evidence of this. So 1956, the doors of Hippocrates opened. And about 30 years ago, I moved it from Boston to West Palm Beach, Florida. I was lucky as a young man because I was touched by somebody who was a health guy. I was overweight, 120 pounds overweight, smoking cigarettes, smoking grass, a mess, just a boy. And I met somebody who ate healthy food. I didn't know what that was. I grew up in the metropolitan New York area. Healthy food to me was the white bun rather than 2 hot dogs. And I used to go to Yankee Stadium to see Mickey Mantle to eat hot dogs.
I used to have 10 hot dogs at
You're
one
not,
time.
You're not dreaming about that. So I got myself good and fat. But in those days, I was a pioneer in obesity. There weren't that many overweight Americans. Today, 72% of our children are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese.
More than any other country?
No. Mexico beats us now, and England comes in a close second to us. So when you look at all of this, it was the birth of this movement we call the natural health movement that we started back in 1956. I joined the team in 1975 and became director in 1980. And my mind has always been very focused on proof. We can't just walk around and tell society that everything they're doing is wrong, but sadly it's true. That dietarily, attitudinally, the way we work, the way we're stressed, the way we spend our recreational time is radically wrong. And so to say these things, as I've done now in the half a century of work that I've done, we've got to have clinical research and proof, which we do.
To back that up.
To back it up. And we're not the only organization in the world that does that. As a matter of fact, if you get on the internet and look up Michael Greger, Dr. Michael Greger, he has a full-time job just showing you on a daily basis how we have overwhelming evidence that people should eat a plant-based diet, live a healthy lifestyle. You have 5,000 medical doctors in this country that are called lifestyle medical doctors now. The top are at Yale, at Harvard, at Cornell. But you don't hear about this in the mainstream.
Why is that?
Because the power and the money is in the hands of people who don't want you to know that you're responsible for your own health. They don't want you to know that you can reverse catastrophic disease by lifestyle. They want you to believe that genetics make you sick. That's a lie. Epigenetics.
You have a lot of knowledge. I'm a big believer in doing my own research too and going out there. And you know, a lot of things I had, you know, rheumatoid arthritis, gout, acid reflux, my neck pain. I got recommendations from, you know, put a steroid in my neck. You know, your disc is broken down. You're old. There's nothing you can do. You can take some medicine. I mean, you wouldn't believe, and I'm telling you, since the show I had with Raymond Francis, which is over 5 months ago, I've not had anything that walks. No food, no animal protein.
And how do you feel now?
So, by the way, I have no acid reflux. I don't snore anymore. My neck pain's gone. I know that sounds, but I'm a believer because I did my own research. I went to the library. I went to the bookstore. I got out books. I read everything I could from all different kinds of medicine. So, but when I heard about the China study and saw the film, and the study that's so long and so in depth from the doctor that you talk about.
Oh, yes.
I just want to know, what is your...
Well, my colleague and friend, Dr. Colin Campbell, has done the most important and sophisticated study on human diet in history. It's called the China study. It was published as a scientific document in 1990. It was made into a public book back about 15 years ago. It hit the #1 bestseller list because a colleague and friend of mine, Gary Player, the famous golfer, basically went on the Golf Channel, which I didn't realize millions of people watch. I'm not a golfer, and showed the book and said, America gave me my life, and it gave me everything for my family that I've ever dreamed of, and I want to give America something back, and showed Dr. Campbell's book, The China Study. And let me tell you, Dr. Campbell's authentic. He's one of the few honest and true scientists I know. He's not blemished in any way. He's not a person who will take money and do prostitution, which is most of science today. And he stands for the truth. And anyone with any real interest in health when it comes to diet, read his book.
So I live that. So like in 5 months, I used to play basketball, be in pain for a week. I played 5-on-5 for an hour. The next day I feel unbelievable. My joints don't creak. I used to do push-ups. My son would laugh. We would hear, it doesn't happen anymore. So there must be something to doing a plant-based diet that I see tremendous benefits. But the thing is, when you tell people, and you may, unless they're a close friend and you really want them healthy, you know, certain people are like, look, I want to live. I want to eat my meat. I want to, you know, I have pizza once in a while. I have sugar sometimes.
Right.
But I got to tell you, the plant-based, the beans, the legumes, the fruit, the vegetables have. Can you tell?
Well, let's make it simple for you.
For the audience to hear.
And you and I were one of the people that we're talking about. If somebody had come to me 50 years ago and said, Brian, you have to get rid of all the things you love, all the things your mom taught you to eat, all the things your culture told you were good for you, I would have said, get out of here. You're out of your mind. Right. Totally crazy. It took me having a problem. And so the people listening today that have problems are more prone to open their ears to what we have to say. You had problems.
Right. Pain makes you take action.
You
right?
bet. And some people have big pain, you know, and it's not only small pain like this.
What do you know about nature and the healing of
Nature has all of the answers. Humans' arrogance prevent us from understanding nature. We think we're smarter than and better than. So let's explain the inflammation process. Doctors several years ago started to wake up in allopathic medicine and natural medicine and say every disease is inflammatory. The part they left out is lifestyle. Poor lifestyle habits create inflammation.
Stress?
Stress is one of them. Because if you have stress, you stop breathing, the blood flow stops moving, and when blood flow starts to stop, what you end up with is white blood cells are coming in to clear up and to get rid of the infection that you're causing there. If you clog up your arteries with bad food, if you're eating high amounts of sodium, all of these things in fact cause major repercussions. So the leukocytes, which are part of the immune system, literally come in to attack it. Now, when they come in to attack, this army has water with it. Think about the wisdom of the body. Why it carries water, it's like a fist fight. If one is fist fighting with the other, it creates friction. Healthy cells would die. So it brings water so that the healthy cells don't die. That's why if I punch my arm and it inflames, I'm killing cells. Water comes in along with the leukocytes to vacuum clean the cells and to bring stem cells to create new body.
So it's a natural thing. So, you know, when you get an injury, right, people say put ice on it. I don't put ice on it because what is that, just for the pain?
Well, it's symptom relief. It has nothing to do with helping you.
Oh, okay.
What you need to do is exercise. You need to circulate. You need to breathe deeper. And if I had people at the Institute, I'm putting them in hyperbaric chambers. I'm having them inhale oxygen. I'm giving them glutathione injections. So there's lots of things you can do. But at home, for the remedy, start to exercise.
A lot of business owners, CEOs, people in business get stressed out. They're working long hours, and I can't tell you how amazing breathing helps. Just meditating and breathing and taking 5-minute breaks and coming back to your work refreshed, you know, that's a whole show in itself, right?
It's an important part. One of the things we teach everyone that comes through has training in psychotherapy and biofeedback, and we give them viable things to take home with them. If a business leader would only spend 10 minutes a day reflecting on what she or he plans on doing and relaxes and gets their head together and their heart in sync with their head, their life would transform.
Sure, much more productive.
So
one last thing before we finish up this thought, inflammation, okay? What are 3 things you can do immediately to eliminate some of the inflammation that a lot of us...
Drink a lot of water. Number 1, nobody tells you this because they don't make money on it, but get pure water. If I have a fire, that's what it is. I use water to put it out. Number 2, take curcuminoid, which is the active medicine out of turmeric. White folks eating turmeric, it's not going to help us much. If they take lots, as I do in a supplement I make, I take over 1 kilo of turmeric. I extract out the medicine called curcumins or curcuminoids. That's incredibly important. And number 3, move. Right. Matter of fact, it's a natural state. When I touch my toe and I hit it on a wall, what do? I bounce around. When I hurt my arm, I'm going like this. The body wants to move, but what we sit and put ice on it, not a good idea. people commonly come to Hippocrates from Wall Street, from Hollywood, from London, and once every 6 months. And what they've always said to me, I clear my head here. I go back and make better decisions. Now, why that is because if you're taking inordinate amounts of fat into your bloodstream, fat reduces oxygen. Your brain thrives on oxygen. The way you think, your emotional state, depends upon you having oxygen in the brain. Your brain doesn't need overstimulation from sugar. If you read my book, Sweet Disease, a study done right here in New Jersey at Princeton actually showed that sugar was more addictive than heroin and cocaine.
I heard that.
So we
yeah.
get, it's a fact, and we get rid of that. That's why many of us, including myself, had such a difficult time giving up sugar. I gave up bad dietary foods pretty rapidly. It took me 30 years to give up sugar. I just renamed my sugar, like you said, 30-pound watermelons. So I gave up white sugar, I took up honey. I gave up honey, I took up maple syrup. Now the big thing is agave syrup. The big thing is ripe syrup. It's all the same. The body doesn't distinguish expensive organic sugars and others. So if you want to be functional, if you want to be better at business, you want to be a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better citizen, a better human being, you've got to change your diet. It's not good enough to make money anymore. That's the old paradigm. You've got to make yourself well and be a contributor. Yeah.
There's a lot of businesses out there that are taking a look at why people buy certain things, why they want to be healthy, and creating products that are all natural. And when we come back, I want to talk about the ones that you feel are effective to go out there, because
or legitimate.
right, right, that are healthy for you, because we need something to be able to go out there. You just can't, just. It's hard to live like you're talking about, and the diet you're talking about, with what's around us all the time.
Absolutely.
And before we go to break, what's your definition of success today? And you've run a business. You're involved in a business. You market products too, and correct, and services. So, what is your definition of success?
To follow your passion. If you can follow your passion and fulfill your dream by doing the right thing, that's the only true success.
Passion and intelligence and integrity.
Integrity.
Right.
And you can make more having integrity than taking shortcuts.
You can sleep too.
You bet.
We'll be right back with Dr. Brian Clement right after this.
Alvin and the Chipmunks want to remind you, bacteria can hide in food and make you ill.
Wow.
But you can keep bacteria from ruining your day with 4 simple steps. Clean.
I'm waiting for the rinse cycle.
Separate. Cook.
Fire in the hole!
And chill.
We chipmunks are notoriously tidy.
Check your steps. The road trip to food safety starts at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back. This is Barry Farber with Mind Your Business, and we're with Dr. Brian Clement, who is inspiring me in different ways to take a look at a different way to live your life. And maybe for the viewer to talk a little bit about meat. What alternatives do you have for meat, since that's what's the toughest thing for a lot of people?
There's so many alternatives today. It's not like it was, a long time ago. You can go into even the grocery store, and in the cooler section, there's a nice, large gathering, a variation of non-soy, non-egg, non-animal-based foods, hamburgers, and substitutes for chicken that are delicious. As a matter of fact, some of our top business leaders today have put $1 billion into creating the greatest vegan hamburger ever made.
What is that?
Well, they're actually now having it at the new Whole Food stores called 365.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in there, you can buy these, and somebody who's a meat eater wouldn't know the difference. Now, this has such a health impact, but it has an environmental impact too. So this is not a hard thing to do. You just have to want to do it. You have to understand why.
I'm going to give you an answer. A lot of people say, well, where do you get your protein, Barry?
This is the highest protein diet in the world. Where does the animal get the protein? Remember, the animal has bigger muscles than you. They may be 1,500 pounds. Look at a steer, Look at a horse, look at a gorilla, and my God, these are the real proteins. Proteins all come from plants. No matter what you hear from the naysayers out there and the so-called experts, they're wrong. They're wrong. All protein comes from plants. Photons come from the sun. They're captured with photosynthesis onto a plant. That's where all the amino acids are. What we're doing is getting secondhand food.
From the animal.
From the animals. The animal eats the plant. You kill the animal, eat the animal, end up with heart disease, end up with diabetes, end up with cancer, and the list goes on. Shorten your lifespan. Study after study, including ours, have shown in areas of the world where we consume more animal foods, there's higher death rates.
Oh, yeah. The China study shows how the deaths just in tumors and cancer, everything just skyrockets compared to a plant-based.
And most listeners don't realize that we're in a minority. I know that many of us, our color, we don't think that. But the fact of the matter is, we are. 60% of the world's population primarily eat plants as their main source of protein.
60%.
60%. And so it's in the developed world where we have more money, and it comes from the old days. The only people who were sick and overweight and out of touch were the aristocracy, the 5%. They ate animals. They drank milk. The fact is, the peasants, our family, probably came from peasants, pretty much ate plant-based diets.
It's interesting. My son, who is eating like you recommend and everything, is reading something where it said even Socrates, 2,500 years ago, whatever, was talking about why we shouldn't eat animals.
Absolutely.
So it was almost thousands of years ago that.
Ben Franklin, as an example, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, were all eating the way I eat.
Who are some of the people that come to Hippocrates? Actors, athletes that you...
Everything from Darrell Revis, who was just there last week, to Anthony Hopkins, the actor. Venus Williams, who came to us sick about 6 years ago, recovered, went out and won Wimbledon for us, as well as the Olympics for the United States. And the list goes on. And sure, they're impressive, but normal, average people come to us too. And growing up in a working class family, I make it so everyone can come to us. We're a 5-star institute, but it's available for everyone. This should no longer be elitist, that we have to have empathy and compassion for our fellow citizens and for our fellow human race. And it's time that we all sit down and get the profit out of so-called healthcare. This is disease management system. It's not a healthcare system. Healthcare means we'd educate our children. Our doctors would be knowledgeable about lifestyle, as are our 5,000 medical doctors in this country who have taken the banner as lifestyle medicine doctors. I was one of the instrumental people in developing a whole institution in Europe where you can now go and get a doctorate degree and a master's degree in lifestyle medicine. And so it's in English, by the way, and you don't have to spend $100,000 a year to do it. Americans can go there and in English become lifestyle medicine experts.
I'm going to ask you a question. I'd like you to download as much food and nutrients out there that we normally can go out and just get and eat and start to have a healthier life.
So
what are some of the things?
One of my great loves.
Water.
Water is important. Water is so polluted today. As an example, all of the water tested globally, even the so-called filter water, has plastics and pharmaceutical drugs in it. So distillation of water, and their smart water happens to be available all over the country and all over the world today, a pretty good choice. But get a distiller, inexpensive. You don't have to buy plastic bottles of water, make it at home, put it in your own bottle. Inexpensive, effective. Number 2, I love cheese. I used to go and get triple and quadruple cheese on my pizza. And can you imagine what that does to clog the veins and to make the poor gallbladder go crazy on you? And that's where people have gallbladder problems, because it's a fat adjusting organ in the body. And it gets filled with fat, you have to take it out. You have a panic attack in the gallbladder. You can walk into grocery stores today and certainly health stores and buy wonderful cheese substitutes.
Goat cheese? How's goat cheese?
Goat cheese isn't necessary. So they make it out of almond, they make it out of rice, they make it out of a wide variety. And you'd be surprised. There's a rice Parmesan cheese that I give to my close Italian friends. I don't tell them what it is, and they say, "Oh, that's great Parmesan. We didn't think you ate that." Well, the fact is, it's not Parmesan.
What is it?
It's a rice-based Parmesan substitute.
Out of rice. Brown rice, white rice?
Brown rice, because it has nutrition in it. If you look at eggs, there's egg substitutes. One egg has 230 grams of cholesterol. All your listeners are worrying about
I'm gonna
cholesterol.
throw in something.
Yeah.
Egg. They've just talked about how it's such a nutritious.
Who are they? I bet you it's the egg industry and their agents in the universities that they pay bogus money to do bogus research that tell you it's good.
What are the downfall of eggs? Because I have them
You
every day
can't
for
digest
breakfast.
them, number one. The only animal in the world that we know of that can have the enzymes in their intestinal tract to digest it is a fox. You don't look like a fox to me. You may be smart like a fox, but not a fox. Number two, you have to realize one egg has 230 grams of cholesterol. I used to eat 6 eggs at a time, every day, and sometimes have eggs in the God knows what I was eating there. You've got to get rid of that. They're egg substitutes. So anywhere it requires eggs, you can get rid of that. Tempeh is a great substitute for that, a meat substitute, an egg type of substitute. There's egg replacers that are made out of plants that taste exactly like eggs. So when you have made the significant and intelligent steps that you've made, make the next step and try it for a month. We're not saying you have to do this for the rest of your life. I promise you, you'll never turn back after you do it for a month.
So beans, legumes, greens,
Exactly.
fruits.
And what you have to understand is that your body was built to be a plant-based consumer. When I was growing up in my generation, we were told you weren't manly if you didn't eat meat. I became a man when I gave up eating meat. You couldn't survive, your bones would crumble without milk. Now we realize the data is overwhelming that milk creates osteoporosis.
Isn't that funny? That's the opposite.
Not funny, it's sad and sick, but it shows you how corrupt the entire system is. Also, we can actually show the results of this from Dean Ornish's work at 10 of the biggest university hospitals in the country. All he did is get rid of meat and dairy food, get people to just quietly calm themselves several times a week, and had a 98% reversal rate.
98%.
98%.
How many
in
people would that be
cardiovascular.
on?
Oh, thousands of people.
Thousands.
Thousands of people. We've been doing it for 61 years. And so thousands and thousands of people. I can bring into this show, you could have shows for the next 20 years. And every single week I'll have somebody sitting
We're
here.
going to have you back.
Yeah, well,
Because there's a lot of stuff I didn't even cover that's crazy.
And the listeners have to understand, as you're pointing out, as I agree, I was fortunate enough to be able to do this slowly but surely. Some of the listeners out there who have severe diabetes, or they've just had a heart attack or stroke, or they have cancer and they're facing imminent death, you don't have the grace to take your time. But the fact is, a lot of us before we're sick have that time. So get rid of one meal a week, as they're doing in Germany now. Germany is a very wise country. 4 meals of plant-based diets is over half the population of Germany now weekly. So the German population, 56%, choose not to eat animal-based foods and for their meal. The leader of Germany is a closet plant-based eater, as is Arnold Schwarzenegger now, who's a vegan at this point. And Arnold Schwarzenegger came to his senses. And the truth of the matter is, if you really knew behind the scenes how many people ate this diet and how many have come to me over the time I've done this work, it's outstanding. It's stunning. A lot of the rock stars do this, by the way. And when they're out 200 days a year playing, they're shipping in these foods.
It's got high energy, longer lifespan,
I mean,
healthier, feel
healthier.
better, less pain.
And
Listen, Brian, it's a pleasure. You
too.
know we're going to have you back, right?
Oh,
You
that's
know
a
that.
good thing.
Yes. And just an insight, and I want people to understand that you have to go out and do your own homework. And you gave some good resources to go out there and online and check out the names of these studies and the China study and others, so that you can do your own homework and see for yourself what works best for you. Thanks for coming on. I'm Barry Farber. This is Mind Your Business. See you next time. Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social.